why do you keep mishitting so many shots, and what can you do to fix the problem? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Hopefully you find it helpful. If you do, it'd be awesome if you could give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel before, it really helps me out if you could do that as well. So firstly, off the bat, I need to say that you won't be able to permanently eliminate mishits. Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, I've seen them mishit plenty of shots, and they're the greatest players ever. So us normal people, we just got to accept that we will mishit shots occasionally. But if it's happening a lot of the time, that's a problem. That's what we're going to be addressing here. And I think there's kind of three main scenarios when it happens. So we're going to go through them in order and talk about what you can do to address each of them. The first type of problem that we've got is players mishit basically by kind of hitting this part of the racket on the forehand, on the backhand, and it happens when they get too close to the ball during the setup. So instead of me being able to swing out at my forehand, the ball's out there, I make contact. Because I'm too close to the ball, I end up mishitting the frame here. Happens on the forehand. It's exactly the same process on the two-handed backhand or one-handed backhand. Players just get a little bit too close. Now, in theory, it could happen where players set up too far from the ball and they're hitting the end, but in practice, I don't see that happening to most people. Most people have the issue of getting too close. And in order to fix that problem, you're thinking about fixing your spacing, there's kind of three things that need to happen. The first one is dedicated on-court practice. You have to make it a priority in terms of what you're working on. So there might be other parts of your stroke that also need improving, but until you fix the spacing, you've got to prioritize that and work on it over and over again. The second part of the solution is going to be improving how your visual system's functioning, because you have to be able to read how far the ball is away in order to practice it well. And this lets a lot of players down, but to help you with that side of things, I've got a free Tennis Vision starter program that's going to help you to improve your visual function. I'll place a link up there, and I'll place a link down in the description so that you can start working on that. The third thing that you're going to need to do to fix the spacing is going to be work on specific footwork patterns. Again, this is another one of those things that holds a lot of players back. But to set up in the right position, you've got to use the appropriate footwork, and a lot of players struggle with that as well. Instead of going into that here, because I want to keep this high level, I'll place a couple of videos in the description, one for the forehand, one for the backhand, that's going to show you footwork patterns that you can work on, because that's addressing the first type of mishit, getting too close to the ball. The second common scenario that we've got where players are mishitting the ball is when players are trying to get topspin. So they're trying to come up the back of the ball. They've got kind of a linear swing path through contact, and they're either kind of catching the top of the frame, or more often they're kind of catching the bottom of the frame and they're mishitting as part of the process of trying to get topspin. And again, it happens on the forehand and the backhand. And this one can be a little bit trickier to fix because it's related to your timing, and timing's, other than setting up in the right position, timing is the hardest thing in tennis. It's what separates out the levels of tennis players. But effectively, if you know that's happening, you've got to think about creating a slightly more linear swing path. So what I mean by that is, yes, in order to get topspin, we do need to come up the back of the ball, but it's a fine line. Like if you're constantly mishitting it, you're going to need to think about swinging through the ball a little bit flatter, so then we've got a greater percentage chance of hitting the strings. Because if the ball's there, I'm swinging at this sort of angle, I've got way more chance of making a better contact than if I'm swinging up at that angle. Now, again, the hard thing here is that often this is more related to timing problems. So players might have the intent to do something, but because they're late on the shot, that's why it's there. And now instead of hitting through like I've just described and then coming upwards, they're now kind of arming it and they're trying to come up more acutely because they're late on the shot. So part of it's going to be kind of consciously trying to break the habit and thinking about hitting through the ball, but then the other stuff's going to be more related to try and fix issues to do with timing. And that one is a long one to try and explain. So I've got another video that's going to go into more detail about how to try and fix problems with timing, and I'll link that down in the description as well. The third situation we've got is where there's kind of random mishits. It's not that you're always getting too close and kind of hitting this part of the frame. It's not when you're trying to get too much topspin and you're kind of getting a repeatable pattern going on. The third one is there's all sorts of weird and wonderful mishits that just happen. And that basically points to a specific problem. It tells you that your eye-to-hand coordination isn't good enough, because by practicing tennis you should develop a relationship in terms of awareness between you, the feel of your hand and the racket, the length of the racket, and kind of how far away you need to be from the ball in order to make things work. And the way to kind of think about this, obviously, when you drive, if you've ever driven before, you hold onto the steering wheel and then the whole car becomes incorporated into your kind of brain's schematic thinking of things. So you understand kind of where the side is, depending whether you're on the right or left side of the car. You understand how far it is over there. You understand how high it is, and the whole car kind of blends and becomes one, and it just becomes an automated process. And that same thing happens with the tennis racket, but it just requires a lot more eye-to-hand and eye-to-foot coordination in order to make it happen. So if you keep practicing, you keep working on things, it's not a repeatable pattern. It just tells you that you need to train and work on improving your visual function and your coordination. So that vision program that I mentioned earlier, that will help out a lot. I'll place a link up there, and I'll place a link down in the description. And I've got another video that's going to talk more about how to train and improve coordination. So I'll place a link to that in the description as well. So there's going to be a number of resources down there to help you out. So mishits, there's the two common scenarios, and then there's the random scenario, and we've got a few different resources to help you with different aspects of it. Hopefully that all makes sense and it's been helpful for you. If you've got any comments, leave them down below. If you've got any questions, leave them down below. If it was helpful, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, like I said, really helps me out if you could do that. And of course, I will catch you next time.